So I ran into a problem with the 51 Ford. In the morning when it's cold, the rear brakes lock. They won't release, and the brakes are real touchy until it warms up, and definitely not the way I want to drive my truck around. So we're going to put this thing in the air today and start crawling underneath it and just see what the problem is and see if we can work this thing out. Okay, first thing to do is check the brake fluid. Okay, I can immediately see a problem here. And I'll show you what I'm looking at. Look down in there, that rear reservoir is nearly empty. So that means I'm going to have to get underneath this thing and look at the rear brakes and see if there's a leaking wheel cylinder, which is most likely the culprit. Either that or I've got a bad brake line somewhere going to the back. Put some of the good stuff in. Now the reason I'm doing this is that brake fluid tends to attract moisture, and you can see that the corrosion here is causing a ridge of rust. That's going to keep the cap up and allow for a little bit of an air gap, and that's going to let moisture come in, and that could be part of the problem I'm having with those rear brakes. Now I've got discs on the front and drum brakes on the rear. You look here, you can see my proportioning valve, and I thought that might be the problem, but it doesn't seem to be. So it looks like all of my issues are with the back brakes. Okay, well, I'm under here. I'm going to check the connections on my 4-link. Make sure everything's copacetic. Chiefly, I want to check the welds. Make sure everything is solid. That weld looks good. Wipe a little dirt off it. That looks good. Check this weld. Yeah, that looks good. Let's go on the other side and check that weld. Okay, let's clean this off. What I'm looking for here is just signs of cracking, or the weld's breaking. This isn't exactly a race car, but it does experience some torque, so that weld looks good. it looks pretty good. Let's check the backside. Well, that looks like a crack. Let me clean that off. Have another closer look at it. Okay. I can't tell if that is a crack or if I scratched it. I'm guessing it might be a crack. I'm going to keep my eye on that. It's going to need TIG welding over my head. I hate doing that. Okay, that one looks good. All right, well, passenger side bears watching. I don't see anything here that would indicate counter cracking, so I'll leave her go, but I'll keep my eye on it. Otherwise, it looks like all my bolts are in place. So on to the next step. Got to take these two bolts out and brake line, and then disassemble those brakes. Well, as you can see, the drum is actually in pretty good shape. But wheel cylinder, not so much, it's leaking. Not a lot, but it's definitely leaking. Okay, it turns out this rear end's from a 74 Ford passenger vehicle. It's 11-inch brakes. And I'm going to have to replace these wheel cylinders. This is what's binding me up. So the reason it feels like it's locked up is after I apply the emergency brake, these things stay out and locked. And I get very little movement from my pistons here. You can see there's quite a bit of corrosion. And the problem with brake fluid is it attracts moisture, and anything that it sits on that's steel is going to rust really fast. That bugger fits. comes loose. Let's take the brakes apart. Now you can do this job without these specialized brake tools, but this sure makes it a lot easier. Okay, you can see how this works. There's a little spoon on the top of this, and there's a elongated hole here that fits over this spoon, and that holds your brakes in place. So these just come out to the back side, and I probably should have got new ones because this one's worn through. Yeah. Put a little grease on that and see if I can make it work. Could put a little bit of a weld bead on that. We'll see. See, it's just one quick twist and that springs out. This one's a little worn too. One more spring and we're out. Now you can see right here that puppy's pretty well corroded, and that's just purely from the wheel cylinder leaking. So you can pull this off and see inside there. Yeah, you see that? Just full of fluid. Clean those up. One of the things you might notice is areas like this, here, and here, you need to put a little grease on because the brake shoe, the side of the brake shoe rides on that. So we'll put a little grease on there, and we'll grease this up a little bit too. This doesn't experience a lot of movement, but the grease will help keep it from corroding. One of the reasons I'm wire brushing this dirt out is that dirt holds moisture, and when you hold moisture up against metal, it corrodes faster. And of course, the brake fluid holds or attracts moisture, and the dirt holds the brake fluid as well. So get this stuff out of there, you stand a better chance of keeping these components rust free longer. Whoops. Oh. Great, Vern. Scratch up the paint. Okay, the bleeding valve always goes on top.